Hello, so it's May the 30th, 2020, and in the UK it is Tax Freedom Day. Happy Tax Freedom Day. So what is Tax Freedom Day? Well, in 1948, a Florida businessman decided that it just wasn't clear enough how much the average American was paying in tax. And his name was Dallas Hostetler, and he came up with an idea. He would highlight the day of the year when the average person's taxes are paid and their debt to the government is met. And from that day on, their earnings are theirs to keep and spend as they, rather than the government, see fit. And he called it Tax Freedom Day. And every year for the next 2 decades, Hostetler would calculate US Tax Freedom Day. He even trademarked it. And when he retired in 1971, he handed the trademark to the Washington, D.C. think tank called the Tax Foundation, who picked up where he left off. And various bodies around the world now calculate Tax Freedom Day in their own country. The Adam Smith Institute does it here in the UK. Now, it's inevitably an imprecise calculation because so many averages are involved. But by comparing the tax freedom days of various nations around the world, you sort of get an idea of how much tax a nation pays and the relative size of its government and the levels of economic freedom in that country. And it's a simple and easily comprehensible demonstration of the tax burden in the economy. And in the US and Australia, Tax Freedom Day occurs in late April. In the UK, Tax Freedom Day is today. And May the 30th is now later than at any time since 1995. And that's as far as the best quality data goes back. But the French and the Belgians don't get Tax Freedom Day until late July. It's then that their service to the state is complete. Now, there's also Cost of Government Day, and that tends to fall about 3 weeks after Tax Freedom Day. At the turn of the 20th century, Tax Freedom Day came in early to mid-January. That's the extent to which government has grown over the course of the last 100 years. And over the course of a lifetime, it means that a typical citizen will work for at least 20 years of his life without pay, in many cases more than 25. The medieval serf had to work 3 days per week on his lord's land in exchange for the lord's protection and the right to work his own land on the other 3 days. And in the 21st century, between 40 and 60% of the ordinary citizen's labour is taken by the state in exchange for its protection and the right to keep the rest. Today's conditions are nothing like as harsh as they were then. We have more freedom of expression, more freedom of movement. Modern technology is infinitely superior, as are living standards. They far exceed their medieval equivalents. But it's illuminating to see that the time we spend to pay our obligations is essentially the same. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you're interested in all this stuff, please buy my book, Daylight Robbery. There it is. You can get it via Amazon and all good bookshops, or if you want a signed copy and you're in the UK, you can order one from the link below in the comments section, or get the audiobook version read by me, which is ace. Thanks very much for watching. See you again soon.